All right, guys, we are back. Hopefully we have some audio here. Again, my name is Russ from Kilt Cork. So if anyone's out there watching, just give us a heads up if we have audio or if we don't have audio. That would be great. So it looks like we're going to just have to be on Facebook tonight and not Instagram. Okay, we got Instagram back up, so we're good. This has been a challenging night. It could be, yes, cool. We have audio. We are happy. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us while we went through our technical difficulties. We're not sure what happened there, but it definitely was not good if you can't hear us. So again, I'm Russ Reyes from Kilt Cork, and we're out here at Dry Diggings Distillery. Dry Diggings Distillery is in Dorado Hills, and I believe that a lot of people probably don't know they're here, but I could be wrong. But we want to make sure that you know that there is a distillery, and it's an outstanding distillery here in Dorado Hills in Dorado County. And so we're going to talk to Cris here in a second, who's waiting patiently next to me while we get through our opening here. And again, thank you guys for hanging with us while we had our audio technical difficulties. That was kind of, I guess it happens. We're live, so that kind of stuff happens. So before we get going with the show, I did want to give a shout out to our first sponsor. We had our first sponsor ever, which I'm really excited about. My friend Kevin and Kathy Brown have stepped up to sponsor the show. And so I got to give them a shout out because they own Breaker Glass in Placerville. So Breaker Glass Company is El Dorado's oldest and most experienced glass repair and replacement company here in El Dorado County. They want you to know that if you really want to enjoy your view as you're driving through El Dorado County wine country and here to Dry Diggings Distillery, that you need to stop by and see them if you have any cracked glass. And for more information, go to breakerglass.com and they will help you with any issues you have. So thank you very much to our sponsor tonight. So with that, I did want to announce another really cool thing that this happened this week, and that's we have launched our Kilt Cork website. So that is now live, and there's going to be a lot of cool information on there for you to check out, to find out where we're going to be broadcasting next, to find out what we've been doing. We just posted our update on Preston Castle we did last Saturday, which was really cool. So if you want to read all about that, go to our website. The other cool thing that we just launched is our YouTube channel. And that's going to be key because that's where all of our videos are going to live, especially when we start releasing our Wish You Were Here series, which will be coming out hopefully by the end of this month. So those two things wanted to get out there. Make sure you visit our website, kiltandcork.com, and YouTube. So sitting next to me patiently, waiting to talk, is the owner of Dry Diggings Distillery, Cris Steller.
Hello. Thank
you for having me tonight.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Really excited to be out here and kind of share this with you guys out there in El Dorado County and beyond. Really, Dry Diggings Distillery is right here in our backyard. How long have you been out here?
Well, we started planning it about 10 years ago, but we've been a distilled spirits producer since 2012.
Wow, very cool. And distilled spirits, that's obviously we're drinking, what are we drinking here?
This is Rubicon Rye.
Okay, so I got to show you this. This is the first time I've had Rubicon, and it is outstanding. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what this is exactly?
So Rubicon Rye is the same recipe that we use for all our ryes. They're 100% rye mash bill.
Okay.
And the key to this, though, is it's a clean distillation, but it's the fact that it's put into 2 barrels.
Okay.
So it's the barrels combined with the El Dorado Hills weather that give it the taste that it has, which is it's a 96 proof rye whiskey. So it's got a lot of so-called horsepower to it, but it's very smooth and has a lot of flavor that comes from the barrels.
Wow. It's outstanding. So you guys out there know I am a huge whiskey and bourbon fan. And when I first got turned on to Dry Diggings Distillery, actually it was this year, I bought a bottle of Engine 49, which you probably saw featured on my very first show. So what is the difference between, say, this rye that we're drinking right now and a whiskey like Engine 49?
Well, Engine 49 comes to us through the acquisition of Amador Distillery.
That's this one.
So, right. And so the Amador line is our blended line, which means that we distill some of it and we buy some of it, but all of it is aged here, and then we blend to the particular style of it. But when it comes to rye whiskey, what I like to point out is Engine 49 is the same mash bill. It's 100% rye, but it's only a single barrel aged rye.
So we're drinking rye whiskey as opposed to
bourbon or single malt or some of the other things that we do that are kind of one-off projects.
Okay, gotcha. I want to make sure everyone out there realizes who I'm speaking to here. This is Cris Steller, and he makes some amazing whiskeys here at Dry Diggings Distillery in Dorado Hills. And I want to shout out to some people who have joined us that I know love whiskey. We've got Victor out there. Thank you, Jeremy. They say hi. So hello. They want us to have a nice drink for them. So with your whiskeys, because you have a lot, how many whiskeys do you brew or do you distill here?
Currently, we have 7 on the bar.
Okay.
But we have another that we actually have 3 more that we don't pour because there's just such small quantities, but they are available. And then we have probably a half dozen more in barrels ready to be bottled. We just haven't had the time to develop labels and get the approvals. But
okay.
Always doing something new.
Very cool. So I want to let you know, if you have any questions for Cris about distilling, about Dry Diggings Distillery, about what it's like to own a still, make sure you put them up there so we can ask Cris.
Legally own a still.
Legally own a still. I like that distinction. Do you think there's people that illegally own stills in this county?
I'm sure they don't.
Wow, I don't think so. Not here. Not in Dorado County. I would be shocked if that was the case.
Completely nowhere in the foothills, I'm sure.
No, not at all. I've never had any of that. Hooch or white lightning or whatever they call it. So we're going to talk about something here in a second called Bodie 5 Dog. And it's a white whiskey, but some people would call this white lightning or moonshine. I guess if you were one of these people that don't exist in Dorado County.
Right. If you just look at it, you'd probably mistake it for something like that. Mm-hmm. But it really has nothing in common.
With that. Okay. Like that. So I'm going to ask you about this too, but since we've got this clear whiskey up here, can you tell the audience what you distill here at Dry Diggings Distillery?
Sure. So we started, Gordon Helm, my partner, started us with Diamond Springs vodka. And then we've moved on through, we have currently 6 different kinds of vodka that are made here. And we've gotten into brandies, all fresh fruit brandies. We do quite a few gins now. And then we have our line of whiskeys. The thing to also remember when you come here is it's not only our brands, we let other people come in, and one of them is Alchemy Distillery, and they make products here. And then we also do private label projects for a few people that are out there that it's made here, but it's not our brand. Okay,
that's very cool. So Alchemy is one of your new?
They're one of our newer, and they have 4 different products, I believe, now, but they have several in the process as well.
Okay.
Really neat stuff.
So we came here. Sometimes you have these people who are making these different spirits. They come in, and that's how we met the guy who makes this.
Dariush.
Yes. So Rocket, for all of you out there that know me, that's my nickname for Rogue, and I love this vodka. I'm not a vodka drink, but this was a great vodka, and not just because it's my nickname. All right, we have a question. So, Cris, where did you learn how to make distilled spirits? Is there a class for that, or?
Well, there is now.
Okay.
You have to remember this is still a real young industry from the craft perspective. I learned it by moving to Mexico and then moving home. I was introduced with friends that made tequila and various products in Mexico. But when I came home, Gordon and I decided to kind of dive into the deep of the pool and learn this. So we've learned from various people in California and also going back to Kentucky.
Very cool. And when you and Gordon started this, you were kind of the new kids on the block as far as distilleries in California, right? There were laws that you had to overcome. Yes. or actually put in place in order to do this.
Right. Because when we formed Dry Diggings Distillery, we also had to turn around and find an industry trade group. And what we found out, one didn't exist. So we formed the California Artisanal Distillers Guild with 6 other distillers. Craft distilling really started in Northern California with St. George Spirits, Charbet Distillery, and Hubert Saint Germain So they were the pioneers across the entire United States and arguably across the world. But we didn't have a trade group. So we had to fight to change some laws so we could have tasting rooms, sell bottles, do tastings. It's been a long 6-7 years to get things to where they are today.
Right. So if I'm not mistaken, when you first opened, you couldn't even buy the spirits here.
You couldn't taste them.
You couldn't even taste them. So you could come in and could you like sniff them? That's about it. Look at them, say that looks good.
Yeah, maybe if we took you in the back and had you smell it coming off the still, but we couldn't open bottles and do anything.
Wow.
So it's been a very fast progression, but we just got our 4th bill signed by Governor Brown in the last 7 years. So it's 6 years actually. So 4 out of the 6 years we've gotten a major piece of legislation passed.
That's outstanding. That's, you know, if you want to kind of liken it to, imagine if all the wineries that you went to out there, you could just walk in, but you couldn't taste or you couldn't buy. That would be anarchy, I think, especially here. So I'm empty. What would you suggest I try now?
Well, maybe go to the Engine 49.
Okay.
It's a single barrel.
Okay.
So it's the same mash bill, but what you'll notice is it has similar characteristics, but it's a lot lighter in color. It's also only 80 proof versus 96 proof. But that second barrel that Rubicon has really adds to the complexity. This is a more straight up, this is what we would use to make cocktails, maybe sip neat when you want something a little lighter. It's
got the most amazing like caramel nose. I mean, it really smells like a piece of caramel.
And that's what's fun about that is more of what you would find if you went to Scotland that would be called a blended rye, even though it's not technically blended. It's a straight rye.
Sure.
But it's what we make here that shows that distillation is a part of the story and fermentation, but barrel aging is really a big part of whiskey.
This is outstanding. I love this. The flavor. I mean, you definitely can drink this neat. At least I am, and I'm enjoying it greatly. So back to the Bodie. So Bodie, that's the town on the Eastern Sierra, correct? I got to tell you, I love Bodie. We've been there a lot of times, taking the kids there. I love that you have kind of paid, homage to this real American ghost town that exists in our state. And you call this 5 Dog White.
Yes.
It's a California whiskey.
Yep.
So I'm sure there's an interesting story behind what 5 Dog means. I guess before you answer that, is that similar to like the old band 3 Dog Night? You think that's kind of where they got their name?
Well, I don't actually know where the band got it. I got it because my wife just retired after a 35-year career with the State Parks Department. She got the opportunity several times to stay the night in Bodie on different projects. And obviously with our vibe with the gold rush, it just felt right. And we want to help create tourism through what we do, because our bottles go all around the world. And we want people to realize that these things that a lot of Californians have never even been to Bodie, but we want to tie those in. Our history is important.
It is. I agree. So if you, Bodie and Bridgeport, from what I know, the history, they were sister cities, and Bodie during the gold rush and the mining days, it was a harsh environment. I mean, it was very difficult to live where that town was. And so that's one of the reasons why it doesn't exist anymore. So where does that 5 Dog come in?
So we pulled the 5 Dog reference because a friend of my wife and I was the state ranger that would stay up there. And where the 5 Dog comes from initially was he had 5 Shiloh German Shepherds that lived with him when he worked at the park. And then the reference is in history that a 5 Dog night is what the miners would talk back and forth to each other about. How cold was it at your place? Was it a 3 Dog night or a 5 Dog night? And Bodie, as you said, is a pretty godforsaken place to live.
Right.
And it's cold. So there and up in the Yukon, the 5 Dog night was the night you had your dog sleep with you to keep you warm.
There you go. And shout out to Jeremy, existential wine guy. He nailed it on the head there. He knew that little bit of history. So that's very cool. I'm going to take a toast to Jeremy out there.
There you go.
So again, if you are in California, there really is no excuse why you have not seen Bodie yet and gone over. And especially if you are in this county, there's no excuse for not coming here to Dry Diggings and not only getting a little history lesson, but tasting some outstanding spirits. So we have another question for you, Cris.
Sure.
Do you make grappa?
We do not make grappa.
Okay.
We can, but grappa is one of those things that people that love it, but that number of people is extremely small. And I already make products that have very limited people asking for it. We make Slivovitz. We make Vision vodka. Slivovitz we make for the church St. Sava down in Jackson.
Okay.
A lot of our friends that we went to high school with, and I live in Sutter Creek, so we're in the community. It's the Serb-Croatian traditional beverage, so to speak, that is made from plums.
Really?
It's a plum brandy, but I refer to it as, and some people may not like that I say this, but to me, it's plum brandy meets rocket fuel. It's not for the faint of heart.
Okay. So is that because of the alcohol, the proof? Like, I mean, we've got what, 120 proof here.
No, you just drank an 80 proof, and you can tell how easy it did.
Oh yeah.
Was no big deal.
No big deal.
80 proof Slivo has a little more punch going on.
Okay.
And then we also make it at 100 proof when we make it, so that we call it Grandma's bottle that sits on the kitchen table, and Grandpa's bottle is in a bottle that is more of a flask style. So if he needs to take it with him when it's cold outside, he has it.
That's awesome. I would love to taste that someday. And you make that for a church?
Indirectly. Yes. That's
very cool. So I'm trying to see the grappa. Someone is saying, hey, maybe you can make it for our winery. There's a wine Victor out at Rancho Victoria just said, hey, maybe you can make some grappa for the winery.
We could probably do that. We love working with wineries and breweries. We do a lot of work every year with both I call them sister industries, beer and wine. So yes, we could probably work on something like that. Once we get a little past harvest and do all the brandy distilling we have to do.
Exactly. Well, amazing. I know there's a lot more we could talk about. I wish we could. I've got to keep going here. But is there anything else I should try since I'm standing here? I see all these amazing labels. We've got White Devil Whiskey. I love the name of that.
Yeah.
Of course, the Rocket. We've got a lot of Engine 49, the Bodie. What do you suggest I try?
Well, we could do something. We could bring Slivo out.
All right. So he's going to bring Slivo out. And while he's doing that, I'm going to be able to still talk. I need to give you a little bit more information about what's happening at Kilt Cork. So next week, we're going to be broadcasting live from High 50 Brewery out in Camino. It's going to be opening on October the 20th, and we're going to get a little sneak peek. I'm scared of this. We're going to get a little sneak peek on the 18th. So make sure you tune in next week for our Kilt Cork Live. And then the following week, we're getting close to Halloween. We're going to be broadcasting from Outbreak Brewing Company in Placerville. Awesome. Great zombie feel there. So that's going to be really cool. So that's going to be on the 25th. So make sure you guys tune in for that. And then I just am going to try this. And this is called Slivo.
Well, to pronounce it correctly, you have to do
Slivovitz or something.
It's Slivovitz.
Okay.
And I don't even say it right, but that's as close as I can get.
All right. So it smells fruity. It's got a very like sweet, which I know it's going to probably not be sweet, but it's
the plum.
It's got a very sweet, fruity nose, kind of like almost like a candy, like a hard candy or something. All right, I'm going to go for it. Do I just shoot it down?
You can. That's how I tend to drink it.
All right. Well, and how do they say cheers? Do you know how they say cheers? I don't know. I'm going to say Prost. Sounds good. Salud in Spanish.
There you go.
Wow, that's actually not too bad. I mean, I expect it to like burn. Well, it's a little burning, but it's kind of sweet. I like that. It's
But people see plum and they think it's going to be a nice little.
Yeah, no, it's not. That's definitely high octane. That was really cool. You guys have to get out here and try some of this stuff. So remember to follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook. You can see what happens, the effects of drinking too much spirits here. It's been a great time. But it's really important. Make sure you like us and follow us. Also, would you please go to our website, check that out too. That'd be awesome. Make sure you check out Dry Diggings Distillery online as well. And they're on Facebook and Instagram. They're very active there too, by the way. So we had another question. What are your hours of operation?
We're only closed Monday and Tuesday.
Okay.
Technically, a lot of times we're here Monday and Tuesday. If you're local and you happen to come by and the front's locked, try us around the back or come into the building and ask if we're here. Here a lot of times 7 days a week. Normal hours are 12 to 5, Wednesday through Sunday, with Fridays open till 7.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. And if you're a local, you really got to come down here and check it out. Like I said, the vodkas are outstanding. They have gin, which is amazing. I love how you do the infusions here. So make sure you come down to Dry Diggings Distillery here in El Dorado Hills. You're in Business Park 3.
Yes,
between
3 and 4.
Between 3 and 4. It's really easy to get to. And you guys, I wish I could show you the rest of the tasting room. It's absolutely beautiful. You feel like you're in Bodie, in an old Western building. I love how it feels, this bar. And then the distillery is right off here to my right, which I'm sure you could peek through the window and see the still. It's a great place. So I really encourage you to come down here and visit and say hi to Cris. And his daughter's roaming around too. What's your daughter's name again?
She's the boss, Erica.
Yep. Okay, so make sure you say hi to Erica and to Cris when you come down here. Cris, it's been a great pleasure meeting you and for introducing you to the crowd out there. So you guys, that's about all we have for you this week. Again, my name is Russ from Kilt Cork, and I really appreciate you following me and just kind of staying with us through this great experience. And hopefully we're going to turn you on to a lot more cool things that we live close to here in El Dorado County, Amador County, and beyond. So cheers.